Hey, how are you doing right now? I'm about ready to go to bed. I need to stop sharing so much details about my life. If I keep on, I'll be telling everybody every little sort of detail about myself, and you know, it's just a way of breaking ice in these videos. And I'm literally trying to think of something to say, then I can just go right into it, like I'm doing right now. A lot of people do this shit. But anyway, 2020 been a kind of a messed up year. I think that we're all in agreement, and we're just flabbergasted. And you got years that they're that they're just everything is like beyond messed up, and it's not the first time. It's not going to be the last. And for all those that are just thinking, man, this the worst thing that's ever happened with this COVID. Remember, we're not living in the Middle Ages dealing with the bubonic plague that wreak more havoc than this. We're possibly going to have a vaccine sometime next year, it looks like. And I'm happy that's going to happen. But I'm sure the anti vaxxers are going to be like, oh, no, freedom. Freedom, you ain't going to control me. Some people be like that, and I can picture Alex Jones urging people not to go and take this vaccine. People got to be political about every single freaking thing. But you know what? I think that we need to share some optimistic and good news. I don't think it's a liberal or a conservative issue to say I'm tired of these wars. It's fatigued us. I mean, yeah, the war was done in a very stupid way from the get go. In response to 9/11, it was stupid from the get go, and there were areas that had limited success. There were things that was being done, um, and I'll give you I'll give George W. Bush credit for one thing in this war on terrorism. He did everything wrong he could imagine except for one thing. He psychologically fucked um, Muammar Gaddafi into dismantling all his biological chemical weapons and everything. And he was kind of compliant with the West on going after the real bad guys to the point where the State Department dropped Libya from the official terrorism list. Okay, I said something. I said something good about George W. Bush. Believe me, that happens next to never. So so there you have it. Worst president did one little thing right in the response to 9/11. Ironically, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton fucked it up with with the Gaddafi government collapsing. And Gaddafi warned bad things will happen if his government's toppled, and you can see what's going on right now in Libya. It's really sad what's going on over there. But let's talk about Afghanistan for a moment. Afghanistan is a landlocked nation and ostensibly weak nation in Central Asia. And they're a society that's no stranger to war. I mean, in modern times, the Soviets came in 1979, not as an invasion, but there was a government that was at that time loyal to the Soviets, I guess a communist government, and they were dealing with the radical Islamic rebels in that country. They asked the Soviets to come in and help them. The Soviets did. They complied. And the United States did the most wrong thing in the world you could do with Afghanistan, and that was to back the radical religious rebels that Reagan referred to as freedom fighters which is ironic because there are things worse than communism in modern times. And I would imagine that living under a government such as the Taliban would be monumentally worse than living under communism. Because at least with communism, with their drawbacks to that philosophy, there is kind of a adherence for Western values, and you know, in the words of the late David McReynolds, who who was a third camp socialist. He basically said, under communism in the Soviet Union, with all their downfall, all the things that were negative about the Soviet Union, that they were allowed to read great works of literature, and they were cultured people with an educational system that was first rate. Same thing can be said about Afghanistan. Women were treated on par with the West under that puppet communist government. And you can see what happened after the Soviets withdrew in '89, and the puppet government stayed around and survived until 1996 when it was toppled. And one of the worst things that the United States did was to back the rebels in Afghanistan. I remember watching 60 Minutes in 1987, I believe it was, on a Sunday night. Me and my dad were watching 60 Minutes. And my dad's pretty much a conservative Republican and never cared for communism in any way, shape, or form. And I was watching it, and he was just like, son, that rebel shooting the American rocket shooting down the Soviet plane, people think he's the good guy. He's not. That guy that he shot down is probably a better person. That rocket launcher will one day be turned against the United States, and the Americans are making a mistake by backing these rebels. This is what my dad told me. Lo and behold, he was correct. Because on 9/11, September the 11th, 2001, instead of a rocket launcher, they were commercial jets being hijacked and turned into de facto cruise missiles, blowing up a portion of the Pentagon, blowing up the two buildings, the Twin Towers, and making an attempt with the other plane to go into the White House. But the people on I think it was Flight 93, they United 93, I think that's what it was. They rebelled, and that plane crashed in the countryside in Pennsylvania. So thing about it is that from after 1996, between 1996 and 2001, hardly anybody knew what the Taliban were in America. I only known about it because I read an article. By the late William Peltz on the Taliban government in Afghanistan and how radical they are, and they are so radical that the government of Iran were kind of thinking how screwed up these people were, the government. And I'm just like, man, it sounds like they're one of the worst governments around. Well, as bad as their government is or was at that time, the United States, looking back, was it correct for the United States to go into Afghanistan when the World Trade Center was attacked? Considering that Taliban were housing Al Qaeda, I would say at the time, yes. And I say this as a pacifist. But never was any justification to go into Iraq. Going into Iraq turned out to be the biggest foreign policy blunder in United States history. And the United States likes to do stupid shit in the Middle East. It's just out of habit instead of doing something with any common sense. Now, the one upside about the United States occupying Iraq and Afghanistan, because they went into Afghanistan first and then they went into Iraq later on in early 2003. The upside to it is when you hear Americans say, how can we pay for Medicare for all in the United States? We are using our tax money to pay for Medicare for all in Iraq and in Afghanistan right now. Our US dollars are funding two separate single payer systems. So we got politicians that think single payer is fine for the people of Iraq. It's fine for the people of Afghanistan. But oh no, we can't have Medicare for all here in the United States. Doesn't that seem kind of wrong to you all? I mean, really. And I'm all for Iraq and Afghanistan having single payer healthcare. But you know what? I think maybe, we ought to let them do their own single payer system and use those funds. Maybe we could fund our own single payer system here, our own Medicare for all. Just saying. But anyway, um, the Iraq War was wrong and immoral. To this day, you can't convince me otherwise. They have not found any weapons of mass destruction. They never will. And with regard to Afghanistan, trying to find Osama bin Laden, yeah, sure, good thing to do. I was glad when Osama bin Laden was spotted. Not so sure about killing him because I don't believe in the death penalty, even on the international stage. But at the same time, I'm not exactly shedding any tears over Osama bin Laden being gone either. But you know, that happened in 2011. And from 2001 until January 2009, during the Bush Cheney years, we had a strong anti-war movement. I know. I was going to anti-war protests about every other weekend, just about at that time. I went, protested in Raleigh. I protested in Fayetteville. I protested in Chapel Hill. I protested in Charlotte. I protested. Let's see, where else did I protest at? Up in Washington D.C. I mean, it was, Durham, you name it. We were protesting all the time, and over this immoral war. It didn't stop during the Obama years. Now, I personally think Obama was critical of the war, and if he would have had it his way, and I'm not defending Obama, I think that we would have probably been able to get out, but the balls were squeezed by the military-industrial complex. Strangely enough, same thing with Donald Trump. I think that Donald Trump was sincere also about getting us out of these wars. I'm not praising Barack Obama. I'm not praising Donald Trump. There's a lot wrong with the Obama presidency, and there sure as hell were things wrong in the last 4 years with Trump. Both Obama and Trump are politicians I have no serious admiration for. But I do think that Obama and Trump were both better than Bush and Cheney. Meaning that I do think that they were interested in withdrawal, but the military-industrial complex and the neocons, mostly in the Republican Party, but even some in the Democratic Party. Democrats have their own neocons too. Would not allow it. So during the Trump years, when Trump was campaigning in 2016, he promised to get us out of these Middle Eastern wars, which is really weird when you think about how strong the evangelical Christians are and how loyal they are to Donald Trump. Because on the one hand, they love Trump, but on the other hand, they would disagree with Trump, and their position on foreign policy matches that with Bush and Cheney in bombing the hell out of out of every Middle Eastern country as possible. Yeah, we had drones. Drones were going on during Obama and continue going on through Trump, and it was wrong with either president doing this shit. Um. So anyway, the Trump foreign policy was really strange because we had we saw Trump acting very much like a Bush Cheney neocon at times, and then some. And then there were other times when he was sounding like his campaign mode of 2016. Jimmy Dore, and I'm trying not to comment on my other fellow lefties on YouTube, lefties who are much more successful than I am. I'm just starting this shit. But Jimmy Dore basically said on his show that whenever Trump is about ready to do a massive military invasion or an attack, let's say in Iran, that he thinks that Tucker Carlson from Fox News gives him a phone call and talks him out of it. Not a fan of Tucker Carlson, but I think there might be some truth to that. And if it's true, with while being critical of Tucker Carlson as a general rule, I will say thank you. After the 2016 election, the 2020 election, while Trump is stamping his feet and having a tantrum and throwing a fit that he's won and that Biden's victory is illegitimate, and thinking what the hell we're going to do if Trump refuses to leave the White House. I've never seen anything like this in my life. But the story gets stranger. The activity at the Pentagon. Recently, massive firings, mostly of neocons at the Pentagon. People like Mark Esper. And Trump is replacing them with his own people. Can it be that a withdrawal from Afghanistan is possible? And he knows that he's going to have to concede defeat and congratulate Joe Biden. And maybe either because he's got a massive ego and wants to go down favorably, or maybe he's principled. I don't know. I don't care. But if we're going to withdraw troops from Afghanistan and Trump is replacing the really shitty neocons that's been in control of our politicians from both parties all these years, and he's going to go and grow a pair of balls and tell the military industrial complex to go to hell. I'm going to do what I want to do before I leave. I will say thank you if that is your intention. If we're being gaslighted and there's no withdrawal from Afghanistan and we're still with the neocon wars right down to the time Biden becomes president, then instead of thank you, Donald Trump, I'll say fuck off, Donald Trump. Good riddance. But I do know one thing. Americans are fatigued of war. And part of his campaign promise was to get us out of these wars. I'm going to talk about the 2020 primary for a second. Part of the reason why not only was I supportive of Bernie Sanders, as you can see, I wear my Bernie Sanders button, but I was also very supportive of Tulsi Gabbard too. I would have loved to seen her in the Sanders administration as either the vice president or secretary of defense or something like that. That would have been awesome. But Americans are very fatigued. I mean, I want the troops gone. If that's too massive, and he wants to build a positive legacy for himself, so I'm referring to Donald Trump, he could pardon Ed Snowden or pardon Julian Assange. Ed Snowden is a hero. He's the Daniel Ellsberg of our time. And I would like to see him walk as a free man in the United States. I would like to see Julian Assange walk as a free man again. I don't know. I like whistleblowers. I like people that causes trouble. And I would like to see the United States withdraw from all these neocon wars abroad because this war has wreaked havoc not only of the society of the people over there across the pond, innocent lives. Yeah, there are some bad people that have gotten bombed the hell out of. I know that there are actual bad people over there, but I'm talking about the majority of the people who are not bad. They're good, innocent. Think about the 500,000 people that died in Iraq, innocent Iraqis. And even think about the shitty people that ran the country prior to the invasion. Yeah, Saddam Hussein was a piece of shit. No question. Duh. But you know what? Women had roughly the same freedoms under Saddam Hussein as women did in the West. They weren't being forced to dress like a damn ghost. I mean, it was Saddam Hussein's government was secular. Christians were not persecuted. And while I don't think being a communist was necessarily anything that was glorified under Saddam Hussein, they weren't exactly treated as the scourge of society the way it is in some of these countries. Like for example in Iran, the secular left are hated by the government. Still don't want the United States to fuck with Iran, but but if we can have a troop withdrawal, leave the Middle East. Think of the trillions of dollars we will save. Money that could be diverted into things like healthcare for all Americans. We're making damn sure that there's no such a thing as homelessness or to clean our environment. To put it into the Green New Deal. I don't think that the Green New Deal is going to cost $90 trillion like some people claim. But it's going to take a restructuring of our economy to do this. My point is, we need to get out of these wars now. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but we'll see. If you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you were triggered, comment anyway. Subscribe to this channel, please. Share this content. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you that if you have a platform and you're passionate about something, utilize it. If you don't have a platform and you are passionate about something, create that platform, utilize it, because we're all the muckrakers of our time. And as I said previously, just a second ago, subscribe to this channel. Until next time, I am American social democracy. Peace. Bernie Sanders for president in the year 2020.